should you weigh yourself on the scale and how often, right? So you got really 4 options when it comes to the scale, and I'm going to try to make this quick. You got the daily option, aka weighing yourself every day, sometimes even more than once a day. You got the weekly option, weighing yourself once a week, checking in maybe every Sunday or Monday. You got the monthly option, maybe checking in on the first of the month or sometime every month. And you have the never option, right? Never weighing yourself, never using the scale, just saying, screw the weight on the scale, it doesn't matter. And there's a lot of variables here. A lot of people have found success using all of these. And let me tell you, I personally have used all of these approaches. I've lost weight never stepping on the scale. I've lost weight stepping on the scale like 3 times a day. I lost weight just doing it weekly, and I lost weight doing it monthly. So I can tell you all of them can be done if you want to lose weight successfully. The question is, what is the best for sustainable weight loss? And that, again, is tough to answer because I believe you can sustainably lose weight with any of these 4 options. But I'm going to tell you what I do, and maybe it will be beneficial. Maybe it won't. What I do is more of like a monthly on occasion type scale approach. The reason I do that is because I firmly believe, at least for me, that the scale impacts me psychologically. And if I were to do it every day, I would be impacted. And let me explain what I mean by that. For example, I now, which I was never able to do before, I now can have a piece of cake or a cookie or a serving or 2 of ice cream or something and not let it ruin my day or my week or get into this binge eating cycle. I can now have a piece of highly palatable food or a fast food or something in a normal portion size and continue on with my day. The problem is, I'm sure on some of those days where I do eat that piece of cake or cookie or ice cream or donut or whatever, or maybe 2 donuts, whatever, I'm sure that on those days, I'm probably closer to a calorie maintenance or even possibly a surplus on that specific day. And I'm also sure that on some of those days, because of the types of food I might eat, whether it has more sodium or whatever, I retain more water. And if I were to weigh myself daily, I'm confident that that next day I might see a little boost on the scale. And I know myself, and if I were to see that boost on the scale, it would impact me, even if it was in the smallest sense. I would probably wake up the next day and say I was up 2 pounds or something, even if it's not really 2 pounds, even if I was just a couple hundred calories over my normal maintenance, but I just had that extra water retention and it looks like I'm up 2 pounds. I'd be like, man, and I'd start feeling bad about how I ate X, Y, and Z food. And then the next thing you know, I'm trying to subconsciously or consciously eat a little less food that day or that next day, which then puts me in this negative cycle again, which I'm trying to avoid. It's just not sustainable. The next thing you know, you're trying to further undereat too much or push off your first meal an extra 3-4 hours in the day because of what you ate the day before. And then the next thing you know, now you're extra hungry that day, and now you turn into this cycle. And that's literally part of the reason of why I got to the point of struggling with weight loss and binge eating disorder in the first place. You know, that was not a solution. That was not part of the solution. That was part of the problem. So my fear, or I don't want to call it a fear, but the reality is I understand myself, and the way weight on a scale would impact me psychologically if I were to weigh myself very often, I think would have more of a negative impact than a positive. And therefore, even though there's studies and stuff out there that promote daily weighing yourself and studies that promote not weighing yourself, just depends on where you read the study. In my personal preference, in my personal life, I find that an occasional stepping on the scale, just like a normal person would, is healthy. And it doesn't provide me any problems. It just gives me a gauge of where I'm at. And usually I'm just going off how I physically look. And the scale usually is just a reassurance of just kind of where I'm at and how I'm doing on my journey. And I think that that's the best way for me. Now, again, this could be different for you, but I just want to point that out there is if you're somebody who struggles with having a piece of cake or cookie or donut or whatever, or you may struggle psychologically like I do if you see yourself not moving fast enough on the scale, or you might see a little bump sometime, then it might not be good for you to weigh yourself too often. And that it's tough to say what's too often. Maybe weekly works best for you. Weekly still is a bit much for me because I don't want to be in too much of a calorie deficit, because when I'm in too much of a calorie deficit, I have more cravings. I have more struggles eating in a normal, healthy way. My life is just not as good every day, and it just feels less sustainable to me. It starts to bring back old feelings if I'm just under eating. So I don't want to lose weight too fast. I mean, obviously I want to lose weight fast, but I'm not putting myself in a place again where I'm going to lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. I'm looking for sustainable. I want to be out of the weight loss cycle for once and for all. I just want to live life and be normal and not have this cloud of this weight loss cycle or a binging disorder, hovering over my head in my life. So to do so for me, I don't lose weight as fast as I used to when it was not sustainable. And it's tough because I'm used to losing weight that fast, but now I'm just doing it and hoping to be done with it, to no longer be in this weight loss cycle. And of course, there will be times where you gain a little and you lose a little, but it won't be like 20, 30, 40 pounds like it used to be for me. And it won't be constant cycles every year where I'm having to white knuckle my weight loss again with excessive control and restriction through my food and nutrition and diets, because I'm not putting myself in a situation where that needs to happen anymore. I'm putting myself in an extremely sustainable situation. I think I mentioned this before in a previous podcast, but if I haven't, or if you haven't heard that one, I just want to mention it again. When I worked a job when I was younger, one of my bosses told me to become a manager, you don't just get the promotion and then learn how to be a manager. You start managing right now. You learn the role of the manager right now, and you take the actions that a manager would do, and then you transition into the manager position because you're already managing. And that's the same thing with sustainable weight loss. You do the sustainable weight loss habits now, and then you just seamlessly transition into the life of having sustainable weight loss. It's not I'm going to lose weight with this diet or that exercise or whatever, and even though it's not sustainable for my life, I'm going to do it, and then when I get there, I'm just going to transition into sustainable weight loss from there. And the reality is I tried to do that for literal 20 years, and it never worked. It does not work. It's just the reality of life. You do what needs to be done now, and then you transition into the role. And that's for so many things in life, including sustainable weight loss. So I know I got a little long-winded here, and we're talking about scales, the scale choice for you. But for me, again, it's on occasion, closer to like a monthly, if anything. At max, I would say for me, I would do a bi-weekly. Or when I say bi-weekly, like maybe twice a month. But typically closer to maybe every 3 to 6 weeks, maybe I'll pop on the scale and be like, all right, cool. And then I continue on with my life. And that's it. That way I can eat the foods I want every day, and I try to be healthy for the most part. And when I'm at an event or a dinner, or I'm just feeling I want a little sweet something and I go eat it, it's not a big deal, because I wake up the next day and I just go back to my normal day. And if most of my days are normal and some of my days I eat a little more, it's okay, because I'm moving in the right direction. And I know that it might take a little longer than the old me would have liked it, but that's the price you pay to make it sustainable, or at least that's what works for me. So that's my perspective on the scale. Do what works best for you, but you have to understand yourself. If you're somebody like me who might be impacted psychologically by checking that scale a little too often, and then that might start putting you on some habits and, on a road that's going to get you right back to achieving weight loss, but not sustainable weight loss, then I would not recommend it. And if you're somebody where the scale just impacts you too much, then maybe just don't even use it. Just use your eyes. There were people that were lean and didn't struggle with weight long before the scale existed. So food for thought.